Welcome to the Deep Dive. We unpack stories and ideas, distilling them into insights for you. Today, we're tackling a really big one, Genesis chapter 3. That's the story often called the temptation and fall.
Yeah.
Super ancient, obviously, but its themes about human nature, choice, consequence, still incredibly relevant. Our mission really is to go beyond just retelling it. We want to dig into the psychology, the philosophy packed in there, see how it still shapes things today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really key to remember this isn't just a religious text, though it certainly is that. Its influence is huge: culture, philosophy, art, even how we think about, well, morality and who's accountable for what. So as we go through it, we'll be looking at things like accountability, what the story says about knowledge, is it always good, and just the core of the human condition, stuff we all grapple with.
Okay, let's dive in then. So the scene opens, everything's perfect, right? Eden, harmony. But then enters the serpent. And the description is interesting. Not just evil, but more cunning or shrewd than other creatures.
Cunning is the word. Sly.
And he starts things off subtly, doesn't he? He goes to the woman and asks, has God indeed said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? It's not a direct attack, more like twisting it slightly, planting doubt.
Exactly. That's the fascinating part, the psychology of it. It's misdirection. He exaggerates the rule, makes God sound maybe a bit arbitrary, a bit restrictive.
Right.
And the woman, she tries to correct him. She says, we can eat from the trees, just not that one tree in the middle. God said, you shall not eat it, nor shall you touch it, lest you die.
And that's a key moment, isn't it? That nor shall you touch it part.
That's it. That little addition, don't even touch it, wasn't actually in God's original command in chapter 2. It shows how, maybe even trying to be careful, understanding can get fuzzy, slightly altered. And that tiny change, it creates an opening.
Yeah, like a little crack the serpent can wedge into. And he does, immediately. He drops the subtlety and goes straight for the contradiction. You will not surely die. Bold claim.
Very bold. And then he doubles down. He doesn't just deny the consequence. He gives a motive for why God supposedly gave the command. He says, basically, God's holding out on you. God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil.
That phrase.
Yeah.
Like God, knowing good and evil. What's the power in that? What does that really mean in this context?
Well, it taps into something deep, doesn't it? The desire for more knowledge, for elevation, maybe for control. But this knowing isn't just intellectual. It seems to imply an experiential knowledge, a kind of self-awareness, but one that comes with, well, baggage, loss of innocence. If you think about our own lives, we see that pull all the time, right? The allure of forbidden knowledge, the promise of getting ahead, of being in the know. This moment really captures that core human tension. Do you trust the boundary set by authority? Or do you pursue self-determination, figure it out yourself, even if it means crossing a line? Trust versus, I guess, autonomy.
Yeah, that's a conflict we see everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so the temptation is laid out. What happens next?
The story gives us a glimpse inside her head, right? It says she looked at the tree and saw, kind of sequentially, 3 things. 1, good for food, practical. 2, pleasant to the eyes, aesthetic appeal. And 3, desirable to make one wise, the intellectual or status promise.
Right.
After weighing these, she acts. She took of its fruit and ate. And then, crucially, she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate.
That breakdown is so insightful. It's like the anatomy of temptation. You've got the physical appeal, good for food, the visual desire, pleasant to the eyes, and that deeper, perhaps more compelling allure of wisdom or power, desirable to make one wise.
Yeah.
It's not just one thing, it's a combination. And it's a pattern you see again and again, right?
Right.
How choices, especially bad ones, often get made.
Definitely. And what about Adam being with her? That detail seems important. Hugely important. It suggests he wasn't just passively receiving the fruit later, he was there. Present, or maybe silent, but present. It points towards a shared moment, a shared decision, shared responsibility, not just her act alone.
Okay, so they both eat, and the consequences, immediate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. It wasn't the godlike enlightenment they were perhaps expecting.
Not at all. It's a sudden, stark awareness of vulnerability. Shame, maybe.
Seems like it because their first instinct is to cover up.
Yeah.
They sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings.
Yeah, that immediate shift from innocence, where nakedness just was, to self-consciousness and shame, it's profound. And that reaction to hide, to cover up what feels exposed or flawed, that's deeply human, isn't it? We still do versions of that all the time, trying to hide our own perceived imperfections.
Absolutely. Then comes this almost cinematic moment. The sound of God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And instead of running to him, Adam and Eve hide
Hmm.
among the trees, trying to avoid God's presence.
The relationship is instantly fractured. Fear has entered the picture.
And God calls out, not what did you do, but where are you?
Right. A relational question.
Adam's answer says it all.
Yeah.
I heard your voice,
Yeah.
and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself.
The fear and the shame are linked.
Then God asks the piercing questions. Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree? He gets right to the point.
And this is where accountability comes in, or rather, the avoidance of it. God's questions invite ownership, but what we get instead is the classic blame game. It's almost instinctual.
Right. Adam says,
Adam says, "The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate." He blames the woman and even subtly deflects back to God, "You gave her to me."
wow. Yeah, didn't even catch that nuance before.
And then the woman, when God asks her,
She points to the serpent. The serpent deceived me, and I ate.
exactly, passing the buck, it's this immediate, almost primal reluctance to take responsibility. Self-preservation kicks in. We see it constantly, don't we? That pattern started right there.
Yeah, from the playground to the boardroom, like you said. Okay, so the act is done. The blame is shifted. But consequences are unavoidable. The story moves into these pronouncements, these judgments.
It does, and they're specific, altering the very fabric of life as they knew it. First, the serpent. Cursed above all animals, destined to crawl on its belly, eat dust. But also, significantly, God declares this enmity, this ongoing conflict between the serpent and the woman, and between their offspring. That line, "He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel," is hugely significant later in theology, seen as foreshadowing future conflict and redemption.
Right, that's a key theological point. Okay, what about the woman?
For the woman, increased sorrow and pain, specifically related to childbirth. In pain, you shall bring forth children. And then a shift in relationship dynamics. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. This introduces struggle and, well, hierarchy into the human relationship in a way that wasn't there before.
A major shift. And for Adam,
Because he listened to his wife instead of God's command, the ground itself is cursed for your sake. Work, which might have been joyful collaboration with creation, now becomes toil. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life.
thorns and thistles.
Thorns and thistles will spring up. Sustenance won't come easily. In the sweat of your face you shall eat bread. And ultimately, mortality is confirmed.
Yeah.
Till you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you shall return. Life becomes a struggle, ending in death.
So these curses fundamentally reshape everything. Nature, human relationships, work, life itself. The harmony is just gone.
Completely gone. It's a picture of a world now marked by conflict, pain, struggle, and death.
But then, amidst all this, there's a small detail. Adam names his wife Eve. Why is that significant?
He names her Eve, which means life giver, saying she's the mother of all living. Even with the judgment, even facing mortality, there's this act of naming that looks forward, acknowledging her role in the continuation of humanity. It's a tiny spark, maybe.
A glimmer of hope, perhaps?
Mm-hmm.
And then another unexpected moment follows, right? God's action.
Yes, this is really striking. After pronouncing these consequences, after their failure and inadequate attempt to cover themselves with fig leaves, God himself makes tunics of skin for them and clothes them.
Replacing their flimsy fig leaves.
Exactly. It's an act of provision, even mercy, amidst the judgment. Their solution was insufficient. God provides something durable, practical. It shows care, even as they face expulsion. It's a complex picture, judgment and grace intertwined.
That's a powerful image. But the ultimate consequence still stands. They have to leave the garden. Why? Why the expulsion?
God explains the reasoning. It's almost like a divine counsel talking. Behold, the man has become like one of us, to know good and evil. They've gained this knowledge, this awareness. And now, lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever, that's the key.
Ah, so they can't be allowed to live forever in this fallen state.
Precisely. To prevent eternal life in sin, suffering, and separation from God's original intent, they had to be barred from the tree of life. So they're sent out to till the ground from which he was taken, back to the dust, in a sense.
And God secures the entrance.
Yes, he places cherubim, powerful angelic beings, and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the path back to the tree of life. Access is definitively cut off.
Wow. The end of paradise. The
Yeah.
start of, well, human history as we know it, full of struggle and striving. So wrapping this deep dive up, Genesis 3 really maps out so much of the human experience, doesn't it? You got the lure of temptation, the weight of choice, the reality check of consequences, themes of struggle, pain, but also that constant search for knowledge, for meaning. It's all there.
It really is. It sets the stage for so much that follows, both in the biblical narrative and, you could argue, in human psychology and civilization. Which I think leaves a really important question for you listening right now. What does this ancient story make you think about? What about the boundaries in your own life, the ones set for you, the ones you set yourself? How do you handle that pursuit of knowledge or wisdom, especially when it feels forbidden or risky? And maybe, how do you navigate that tension we talked about between your own desires and what you feel you're meant to do, your destiny? Between wanting something and, well, maybe needing something else.
Those are big questions. Definitely something to chew on. We hope you'll continue your own deep dive into what this story means for you. Thanks for joining us today. Until next time, keep digging deeper.